Hey everyone, and welcome to the GameSpace Game Show. I'm going to be your host tonight. My name is Dame, and with me is a guy that I have really appreciated getting to know over the last couple of months. His name is James Young. He's from Aston Microphones. This guy is like the mad lad of microphones. We don't usually get an opportunity to interview some of the minds behind the hardware that we get to review at MMORPG.com and GameSpace.com. But it's been a real treat over the last 2 months to get to know James and to hear a little bit of the Aston story and to finally bring you the Stealth by Aston. This has been a microphone that is really unlike anything that I've seen before, and we're going to be reviewing it on both of the sites. So make sure that you take a look out for those. But James, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you.
So you are right now just coming off the North American Music Merchant show, or at least one of the shows that was in Las Vegas this time around. How is the show treated you this year?
So the show went amazingly well for us. We just launched our new product, the Stealth, that you've just been chatting to people about. And it's had an awesome response. I mean, it's our third year at the NAMM show. We're only 3 years old as a company, so this has been a really big one for us.
That's awesome. You know, I've had my feet in a couple of different worlds, and one of those has been the world of music and pro audio. And when I first saw this thing, actually, when we first heard of this, I was blown away, thinking like, how on earth can they do this with a microphone? And we're going to get around to why this is on the GameSpace Game Show. But anyway, tell us a little bit about the Stealth, what it does, what it is, and how you arrived at this thing.
Wow, that's a big answer. Yeah. Let's start with the how we arrived here, I guess. We're a UK-based manufacturer, the only UK-based mic manufacturer. And we've spent our history is in the pro audio and broadcast world rather than the gaming and kind of digital media world. So we've got quite a lot of experience in building microphones. And previous to this company, I was involved in another microphone company for 12 years. So it's not kind of out of the blue for us. But how we got to release Stealth, well, we've done a couple of condenser microphones which have taken the pro audio world by storm. I mean, it's been, you hear people saying that stuff, but it's really been amazing what's happened. We're working with huge international artists, producers and engineers all over the world. We got nominated for 2 tech awards in our first 2 years, which no mic company has ever done before. So it's been quite a ride until this point. And it's I would say it's second album syndrome, but we've already done 4 products now, 3 microphone products and a kind of portable booth, which would also be something that you guys might be interested in looking at. But we had to pull something out of the bag, and it wasn't going to be another condenser mic or a tube mic or a USB mic. We had to do something that was like really going to wow people to keep up the momentum that we were building. And when we looked at the market areas we could go into, we could have done a ribbon microphone or a tube mic or a USB mic or anything like that, and we were looking at the dynamic mic market and thinking, nobody's really doing anything here. It's kind of regurgitating the same old stuff. So it was the biggest opportunity we saw to go, there's a game change we can make here. We can really step things up. That's how we came to actually doing the brief on Stealth.
Awesome. It's interesting that you said that there's not really been a lot of change within that technology, or even within the way, like even going into a music store or going into some type of pro audio shop and taking a look down the line of all of the microphones that are on a stand. You might have a little bit slightly different shapes and colors, but they're kind of the same. I mean, I know that some of the guts are different, and I know that there's different build quality and stuff like that. So I don't want to minimize that, but one of the things that really drew me to Aston Mics was there was something that was just different. They stood out as something that was wholly other. And so when we reached out to you guys, about it. That's when we found out about the Stealth. And, you know, as somebody who has been doing some stuff with broadcasting over the last couple of years through podcasting, the gold standard, if you will, or the aspirational piece of gear really has been the Shure SM7B. And if you're not familiar, you know, for our listeners and our viewers, if you're not familiar with what that is, you've probably seen it. You'll know exactly what it is once you see it, because you've seen top streamers and gamers use this thing. Because it has been like it's kind of been the gold standard, if you will, for that type of broadcasting. However, you know, as I said at the intro here, this thing really has been a game changer, because it's not just, you're not just getting the sound of one microphone and a mic, you're getting your voice within that microphone, because this thing actually has 4 different built-in voicings right within the microphone. James, why don't you tell us a little bit about the voicings for the Stealth?
Yeah, so I mean, you're right. The mic market has been, in our opinion, very static for a long time. Not just with dynamic mics, but also with condenser microphones as well. And we've made a name for ourselves by looking very closely at what's been done before and asking why. Why is it done like that? And we asked them, you know, even with the other mics we've done, we stripped it back to, does a microphone have to have a mesh head? Does it have to have a chassis like that? Can you build the mic capsule into the PCB somehow? You know, we were asking really dumb questions. You know, yes, it does have to have a mesh head because it needs a Faraday cage. But by asking those questions, the next level down is, okay, so why does it have to have a mesh head? And so you start asking about questions about how things are built and can it be done better? And those kind of questions haven't been asked for a long time. I mean, as you rightly pointed out, if you look at the form function of nearly every other microphone out there, whether it's an SM58 dynamic all the way through to a Neumann U87, they're all basically the same kind of design. So when we're looking at design ethics, we really do try and strip it back and ask, what is the function of this thing? So with the dynamic mics that are out there, they've been very simple. And we were asking the questions, well, what do people actually need? Now, we develop our microphones in a very unique way. So we work with a panel. In fact, on Stealth, it was 92 people. We work with a panel of 92 top industry professionals. And we're talking about producers like Rick Simpson, who produced the last 5 Coldplay albums, and George Michael's producer for 13 years, and so on and so on. So some, you know, and from all areas as well, from classical through to broadcast, through to, you know, lots of different areas of artists and producers. So these guys, this group of people, worked on the sound development of Stealth right from the very beginning. So from day one, normally when you produce a product, what happens is the sales and the marketing and the engineering team get together. You've heard me say this before, right? And because I've lived this experience, but it's a really nice way to explain it to people. And the salespeople want something that does everything for 99 cents. The marketing people want something that is absolutely the best at one thing, so they only have to market one thing. And the engineers want to build space rockets, and they just don't care how much it costs, right? So we've dragged this back to doing something very different. Now, what happens when you get these groups of people working like that is that the end result tends to be this kind of grey homogeny, and it's why all products tend to converge to being the same kind of thing by the time they reach the market. We kind of threw the rule book out with that stuff and said, no, we're going to work with all of these people who have got real ears, you know, much better ears than you or me, because they're doing it professionally at the highest level every day of their working lives. And they developed the sound for us right from the beginning. So they were choosing the capsule. They were helping us with the voicings of the actual sound of the microphone all the way through the process, not just at the end when we gave them a nearly finished product and said, hey, what do you think? Have we got it right or not? You know? Now, because of that, we're producing stuff which simply outperforms everything else out there at the same price points. But with Stealth, we came across an interesting problem, if you like, which was we had in our final test, we had 14 different versions of the mic that we built up against 2 market-leading competitors, the SM7B Dynamic and the U87, which is the market-leading condenser microphone at $2,500–3,000. And we're talking about, you know, a sub $400 dynamic mic here. And so we basically had these 14 voices. We had 92 producers. We had 7 different audio sources, including several male and female vocal sources. So we had over 9,000 test data points. And what we found was inconsistent, which wasn't very helpful.
Never is.
The producers, in double-blind tests with completely jumbled audio files, picked out the same voicing every time for male vocals.
Wow.
The same voicing that they picked out for male vocals came bottom of the test for female vocals, which we were like, okay, this is not helpful because we need a mic that people can just use on vocals, right?
Right.
And the opposite was true. The one that came top on female vocals, and we're talking about high register, low register, it didn't matter. It's something about the timbre of the voice, which was really surprising to us. The one that was top for female vocals came bottom for male vocals. And then we also had people that when they were looking at application-specific stuff like voiceover, talking, and that they wanted a different sound again. So we thought, well, why don't we give people options then? Why don't we actually put these options onto the microphone, build something which is really good at various different types of sources? And that's where the 4 different, I don't know whether you can see this, that's where the 4 different vocal settings came from on the microphone. So actually we've got 2 voice settings, V1 and V2, which are effectively different timbral settings. Now, it might be that you have a guy that's got a more feminine timbre to their voice, and they might want to use the other settings. So we leave it to people to use their ears on that. It's also got, because we're also a pro audio company, a guitar setting, but you could equally well use that for a vocal as well. It's just a kind of more pingy sort of sound. So.
As I was recording a voiceover describing the stealth and each one of the sounds, and as I was recording on the guitar setting, I thought, man, like this requires a really, really special setting to have or a really special application to require this for a voiceover. I mean, if you've got nickel wound vocal cords, then you should be good to go.
For the kind of people that you're talking to, the audience that are watching this today, the guitar setting is probably not going to be best for their vocals, but there are 3 other ones, V1 and V2, and then D, which stands for dark. Now, that is an emulation of a ribbon microphone. And so it's really good for voiceover stuff. Actually, when we were at the NAMM show, a lot of people that were doing gaming and podcasting and voiceover work were migrating to the dark setting, saying, oh, wow, this is amazing. This is what I want to use. So we've got 3 very usable voices. But also, we haven't even talked about the mic pre, right?
No, we haven't.
We've got that as well. There's 2 different modes to this. So the microphone kind of operates as a normal passive dynamic microphone with those 4 voicing options on there, because it's an analog circuit board. And the analog circuit board has got 4 different discrete circuit paths on it, which you mechanically switch using a ring that's embedded into the microphone. So you're actually literally physically switching between different analog circuit paths. But then, of course, you've got the mic pre as well, and that changes things to a whole nother level.
Yeah, there's so much that you said in there that I really want to touch on, but I want to go back to that whole process of design, because the same thing we've seen that same thing happen in the gaming world too, where you have a developer that comes together with an idea and a story and how they want to execute this thing, but then you have a marketing department that wants microtransactions to be a part of that thing, and then you have just all other all sorts of things that just kind of get thrown into the mix, and then suddenly this thing becomes something entirely different than what it was advertised as on the front end. So just kind of an interesting parallel there. And one of the things that I appreciate about what you said that you guys were doing with the Aston panel, you said you had about 92. You said 92 people that.
92 people on the Aston panel. They're a mix of producers, engineers, voiceover artists, singing performers, from all genres as well.
Yep. So you guys took that subsection of like, hey, these are the people that are going to be using this thing. What do they want, and how do we give them the thing? One of the things that we've seen from some publishers in recent history has been, listening to their communities and listening to what do people want out of this thing, and what do they want to experience with this, and then listening to that and implementing those things. Bungie Entertainment has been a really, really good example of that. Of course, I'm a big fan of that studio and everything that they do, but that's a whole other story for another time. But I did want to, one of the things that I really wanted for you to share with us, again, because one of the things that we don't often get to see as a gaming site that covers technology, one of the things we don't get to hear is the story behind the technology and where it came from. One of the things that we try to do with our hardware reviews at MMORPG is basically to cover the experience from the ground up. Like if you're going to use it at some point in time, in your gaming experience, we want to be there to cover it. So whether you're streaming or creating content, doing voiceovers, that's where this thing really is gonna come in and be the piece that you want to take a look at. But I'm gonna have a full written review over there on that. I'm working on that right now. But one of the things that I really wanted you to share with our audience, James, because again, this is something we don't get to hear, is what's the story of Aston? Like, where did you guys come from? You've only been around for 3 years. You touched briefly on that. I know offline you have shared with me a bit about this, but I want to get your story out there. So the floor is yours, my friend.
It's a rags to riches to rags to kind of, maybe we're on the back on the way up again story. So actually, I got into the world of microphones through Pro Audio nearly 20 years ago. I was working Pro Audio for 6-7 years before that, which is a little bit worrying. I'm showing my age now. And I ended up working with some partners in China originally, not this brand, to build what has become a relatively big, successful microphone brand in the Pro Audio world. Some of your listeners, viewers may have heard of it, SE Electronics, and we invented the portable vocal booth. So that was mine and my business partner's invention, the reflection filter, and we spawned a number of products within that brand. And let's say that around summer of 2014, it came to an unfortunate parting of waves unexpectedly on our side. I learned the vagaries of having business contracts based in Shanghai rather than the UK or the USA. And we walked into a meeting room one day as half owners in a company that we'd spent 12 years building and was a $5.5 million company at that point, and walked out 10 minutes later without a company, having been thanked. It was a kind of so long and thanks for all the fish moment, if you know your sci-fi comedy books, which I'm sure you do. That was a very, very difficult day, and we don't dwell on it because it's an interesting story, because what that led to was Aston. Aston would not have happened, and it certainly wouldn't have happened the way it's happened if we hadn't gone through that very dramatic piece of work history. I mean, we, at the point in time that we lost that company, it really was that sudden, and we were, you can imagine, devastated. I can't think of the right words to express. We were really devastated, but we had an outpouring of support from the Pro Audio community of people that we had grown the brand with, artists and producers and engineers, saying, look, if there's anything we can do to help you guys get back on your feet, we're there. And it's a bit like the friend that says, hey, man, if you're having a hard time at home, you can always sleep on my sofa. You say thank you. You hope you'll never actually have to, right. You'll have to sleep on the sofa. But that's where the whole Aston panel thing came from. And it started, we call it the Aston 33, because it started with 33 producers and engineers and artists that we knew very well in the UK that had offered to help. And they're not paid for this work. They do it for the love of helping us to produce something really special. And that's grown and accelerated. I said there were 92 people on the Stealth. We've actually got a total of about 130 people on the panel who participated in projects over the last 3 years. We've got another project starting in a few months, which we're likely to have nearer to 200 people on. And the whole artist panel, around mainly in America and Europe, mainly the UK and Europe, we've got something like 600 top industry professionals that work with us on an ad hoc basis to help us develop products. And we call them our Aston family. We call the people that buy our products our Aston family. And it's not disingenuous. We've ridden a wave of an outpouring of support from people because of the stuff that happened in the past. And as a result, the products that we've got are so much better than what we would have ever built, because we've got all these people helping to make this happen. It's an incredible experience to come out the other side of that.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I really appreciate you sharing that story. I mean, there really is something that is incredibly powerful about what happens when communities come together and come around you. Like you said, you never want to have to be that guy that takes up the friend to sleep on their couch and whatnot. But there is something to be said about having that support system and that base of people to be able to come around you in a time like that and experience something like that. But then make that choice to, instead of kind of shaking your fist and, chucking up the deuces, coming out on the other side and saying, hey, you know what, this is just kind of where we've been. This is our experience. Let's take what we learned from it and move on and create something better. I mean, you guys have microphones with freaking laser beams on them. I mean, it's pretty wild.
Well, that was all down to us. It was great to think we were that magnanimous, but you can imagine that we were in a pretty dark place when it all happened, and it was actually the support of those people that we developed those relationships with over the years, and the way they spoke to us. I mean, I'm not going to mention names, but a number of very well-placed people who were really unexpectedly supporting us at that time, not the kind of people that I would have thought, wow, that I could go to for help. Sure. Were saying, listen, you guys have had a tough break here, but the way to deal with it is not to be angry, is not to be bitter. The way to deal with it is to stand up and show the world what you can do on your own. You devolve from that relationship, that's done. Move away from it, start something else. And we took that to heart. That's what we've done. It's why we're building microphones in the UK. And I now feel that we've been really blessed with this opportunity to, what an incredible experience. The UK microphone market, the UK music market, for example, is one of the most formative in the world, arguably the most formative at certain points, but certainly up there with America, right? And we don't have a microphone brand. Well, we didn't. And we're the guys, while you've got microphone brands coming out of China and Australia and America and Germany and Austria, we're the guys that get to make history building mics in the UK. What an incredible experience. It's just amazing. So,
That's awesome. Well, James, I really want to thank you so much for your time here today. As we're closing up, is there any stone left unturned or anything else that you want to tell our audience about the Stealth or about Aston or about, what to look for or anything like that? The floor is yours.
Well, thank you. I think, I'm not going to go into a whole load of detail about the mic. You guys are going to do, I'm sure, an awesome job of reviewing it in its full glory very shortly. To touch on the thing that we mentioned earlier about the mic pre, because it is important. Effectively, what this thing really does, because it's got a Class A built-in internal mic pre, and that's another world's first. It operates by auto-detecting whether the mic's getting phantom power. So basically, it works as a dynamic mic with the 4 voices. If it detects you're feeding phantom power to it, it boots up this Class A mic preamplifier, which is the equivalent of buying a $200 external gain lifting device. And then you get a dynamic mic, which is sounding like a condenser. So with the dynamic voices, with the ones that sound like a condenser because they've got all that lovely silky headroom in there, and then you've got the ribbon settings on it as well. You've got so many different applications, so many different opportunities to use this mic in a different way. And it's not anywhere near the price you would expect it to be, and it's $379. So, we're hoping that it's going to go down a storm with everybody. It has done so far at the NAMM show. If people want to check it out, then if they go to the website, which is astonmics.com, and they can also, your viewers can contact me directly if they want to organise a demo or something on the same URL. So it's james@astonmics.com, and we'll be happy to send them information packs and help them out with checking the products out.
All right, fantastic. Well, James, thank you so much for being on the GameSpace Game Show here. It has always been a pleasure to talk with you. I hope that we talk some more in the future.